Well, hey everybody, I'm back with our viewer questions from across the country. We're here today with Jim up in the Poconos Mountains in Pennsylvania. And Jim is on pandemic quarantine right now, but he works in the automotive industry. And somebody had recommended we do some like a historical maybe or a funeral info tip from each state that we touch base on just to kind of mix it up. So I was looking up information for Pennsylvania, and in our country, the first general mourning was proclaimed in the United States. So where they basically told the whole country, hey, we are at a loss. Somebody has died. Let's all mourn together. And that was when Benjamin Franklin died in 1790. And his funeral was on April 17th, 1790, and he was buried in Philadelphia at the Christian Church Burial Ground.
Yes.
So back to history of our country.
His burial ground last October. Yes.
Oh, did you?
I have pictures of it. Yes. I can send them to
very
you.
Cool. That's,
Yes.
I would love to go back now as an adult to a lot more historic places that I visited when I was young and go through history of our country and go back to Washington, D.C. with fresh eyes. And I would much more appreciate, I think, all of it at this stage in life than I did ever before. So I think that would be really cool.
Yes.
Well, you're going to bring me 3 questions. So what is your first question?
Okay. I want to run a scenario past you, if I may, on unexpected deaths. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. You got an elderly couple around 80 years old, and the gentleman been retired 10, 15 years now, say, and they get up in the morning and they go about their breakfast, coffee routine in the mornings and everything, him and his wife, all around doing some housework maybe in the morning, and it's a July day, it's like 90 degrees, it's really hot. Or it could be middle January, snowed the night before that morning. So there's like 3 or 4 inches on the ground. Anyway, so go about doing their business and everything. And he goes out in the afternoon, decides to mow the grass, whatever, yard work. She goes for groceries. So in the meantime, he gets done. A couple hours later, he comes back. It's really hot. He's not feeling well. And all of a sudden, he dies. Okay? Whether there's a massive heart attack or stroke, we don't know. His wife comes back a couple hours later, finds him, and he's already been dead. So there's nothing nobody can do. So at that point, does she call the funeral home or like the EMTs or a coroner at that point?
Yeah, so she would make a 911 call, or even, at this point, like we shouldn't assume that someone is too far past saving. Always.
Okay.
Sometimes you can tell the person's been dead for days if you find them, or, a long time, but always assume that somebody else might have a chance at saving them. Like we shouldn't make those decisions always. If the person's been dead for quite a while, because maybe there's maggots, maybe there's animal, for certain, just call the non-emergency police number, but they need to go through a protocol. They have to dispatch an ambulance service to come take vitals, to pronounce the person dead. Actually, like we need an actual pronounced time of death, even though that's not when they died. So they may come and put the little patches on to check for any heart rhythm and see what needs to be done. And then they say, okay, they are dead. A lot of the time, sometimes they'll just look and say, yep, they are dead, go about. But then the coroner or medical examiner investigator, whichever you have in your county and state, would come in to look into the situation. They may call the primary care physician if they're able to get a hold of them and see if there was a pre-existing condition. They may check the body over for injury, a wound of some kind, medication that may be in the house. So they're going to inventory everything that's there. If the person was on a lot of medicine, they're going to go through and count and make sure that there is enough or the proper amounts of medications that there should be for that individual. So there's quite a bit of investigation that goes into it, even if it's someone who's 95, even if it looks like a natural death, they still have to rule out an accidental overdose by taking too much medicine. That might be something they take every, but maybe they got confused and took something that created an arrhythmia or something. So it still is investigated. If they deem that it's a natural death, there's going to be no autopsy, then they can call the funeral home and the funeral home can come in and bring them into their care. But if there's going to be an autopsy, then the transportation team, whoever is that team, will take them to wherever the pathologist is at, whether it's a hospital, some other care facility or whatnot, for the autopsy to take place. So if you call the funeral home direct, they're going to tell you to call 911. So, just call 911 direct.
Yes. Okay. So after all this is done, the autopsy's done, and the family calls the funeral home, and then you go pick up the body wherever it is.
Right. Or it's delivered to the funeral home.
Or it's delivered. Okay. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so you make arrangements for them to come in to talk to you.
Right.
Whether they want a burial or a cremation.
Right.
I'm looking at my notes here. So you meet with the family, make arrangements. So is it, my next question is, here. Yeah. Oh, after everything's over, then the grief period. Is there any different types of, you see people like they're angry maybe or sad? Of course you're going to be sad. I understand that, and distraught and everything. Yes. But did you ever see any other people like my father passed away, but he passed away from lung cancer. And at the end, I was glad to see him go because I know he was out of pain.
Yeah.
And it's hard, but it's still,
There's all these stages of grief that different psychiatrists and psychologists believe exist. Some believe there's 5, some believe there's 9, some believe there's 3. So it depends on whose theories you want to follow. But there are all these emotions that you're going to go through, whether it's an hour, whether it's a month, whether it's a year. Everybody's going to be completely different. You do hit on them at different points and in different ways, and they may not come in the same order. And you may have a resurgence of one of them when you hit an anniversary, when you go through a birthday, or your wedding anniversary, the 1-year anniversary, the first Father's Day. All these different things are going to bring back new emotions, and they may make you sad on that day. They may make you angry. They may give you anxiety about death itself. You're going to go through all these different peaks, and it's normal to do that. It's when we get concerned is when it's a year or 2 years past and you're still debilitated, even 6 months past and you're still completely debilitated. You're not back to work. You're not doing social activities. You have found no new normal. You're just barely getting up and existing every day. That's when we know there's an issue and you need some professional help, is when you're stuck in that grief.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Those are all 3? That's it?
Yeah, I was wondering, you guys looking through all your YouTube channels, trying to come up with something you haven't thought of yet, and it was really hard.
That's once we get to like 40 different states. I'm worried what some of the questions maybe I think everybody's trying to do something they haven't heard yet, which so far I think I've done 6 of these or 7, and nobody's asked me the same question. So, which is surprising. Everybody's really tapping into personal experience, and
that's what the grief part was for me. Because my father passed away during his coma a month ago.
Okay.
Yeah, and the funeral arrangers weren't going to have 10 at the funeral home for the viewing. Well, we had the funeral director said that if you have a little more, that's fine. We had 15 immediate family.
Okay.
But he is a veteran. He couldn't have veteran service because of being together.
Right.
So and he had to wear a mask in the funeral home. Doing it. That was hard too.
It's hard because we convey so much from our face and
Yeah.
and just sympathy that there's no words for, but you can convey with a look. And it's hard with just your eyeballs to convey some things. It takes your whole face sometimes. And
Yeah.
I have found that even in the grocery store, it's hard to convey, oh, I'm sorry, to somebody when you can't have your whole expression into it. So I think that's hard. I can't imagine losing someone during this time and not being able to do what you instinctively do and having those honors. And it's gotta be a heartbreak on top of a heartbreak. Yeah.
That's all I have, Kari.
Do you have plans to do something for him?
Yeah, this summer.
Okay.
Hopefully when it's over. Yes.
Perfect. Good. Follow through. Don't keep saying maybe then. Just make sure you get it in your books and do it for him.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. Because that's one of the biggest things is you keep putting it off and then a year goes by and you're like, uh-oh, what happened?
Yeah.
So just pick a date and make it happen for him.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thanks, Jim. Thank everybody for joining, and
thank you.
The next viewer question and answer session with me. Bye, guys.
Bye.